No, way too positive. That's way too positive. Boys and chatters, welcome to Loaded Mag in UFC. This is the last reaction show of the season because we've got nothing to celebrate and nothing positive to say about that game today, I think, boys. But welcome everyone to the chat, and welcome anyone who's watching back as well. But let's go around and say hello to the boys. Pete, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm seeing Arsenal lift the trophy. As much as we get into Arsenal, it's quite nice to see them lift that trophy and see what it means to them. See the pride in their faces to win something like that. It's just goes back a year and how we felt winning the Carabao Cup and how it meant for us. And how times have changed. For me, it's been drinking lots of brandy, few barbecues, chilling in the garden, enjoying the sun. I've been doing that yesterday, today, and I'll continue to do it for the next couple of days as well. So I'm in a good place right now, regardless. Regardless of the shite football, I'm in a good spot personally. But I'm not too bad. Chris, how are you?
I'm to be honest, Pete, I'm in a similar boat to you, mate. I'm actually in a really good mood and I'm really upbeat. And the reason being is because I haven't got to watch that again till at least August. The sun is shining, off all week. Lots to be positive about. And as soon as that final whistle went, why they gave 8 minutes extra time, I'll never know. But as soon as that final whistle went, I was just like, brilliant. It's done. It's over. We can forget about it. So yeah, and like you say, Pete, credit to Arsenal for getting it over the line. Also credit to Sunderland and Bournemouth and Brighton for getting Europe. Big achievement for those three clubs. Yes, tinged with frustration and disappointment and anger, but we are where we are, and we've known for a long time now that we were nowhere near that level this season, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. So yeah, Mr. Linkified, Chris, you will watch the pre-season in July. I might miss the Linkified, but at least it's not going to be competitive. It's going to be very much warm up time. But yeah, other than that, I'm all good. Daz, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Apart from the game, the game has brought down into things. But I was just saying to people pre-show, Chris, it was my little boy's communion yesterday, so a big day in this house and a big day out as well with the family. So a great day, and the weather as well. The weather has been amazing. So. But I'm working all week, boys, and not unlike you, I'm working. So you can annoy me all week long. I'm sure you will. Sending me pictures of you out barbecuing and enjoying the sun. I'm working. I do have 2 games coming up this week though. In the GA. So I'll be out in the evenings enjoying some sun as well. But let's get into this. Before we do, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Let's give a shout out to, and get this full picture here, to okjerseys.com, and go check out okjerseys.com. And a nice new little graphic there as well. And you'll see it also in the top corner of the screen as well. But you're here to World Cup jerseys, but there's going to be club jerseys and everything as the new kits get released. And use that code LOADED at the checkout for a bit of a discount, 8% off your jersey. So go check that out. Trustpilot 4.6 out of 5. Make sure you smash the like button as well, guys, on the way. Right, let's get into this, boys. Let's get it done as quick as possible. We have to talk about this. But this is the team news. Barnes is on the bench. Murphy starts. Trips is on the bench. Gordon is on the beach. And we thought Tonali was going to be starting, but he seemed to get injured in the warm up, and Willock started. And also, we think we all thought that Hall was going to be at right back, but no, it went to kind of 5 at the back with playing wing backs. So, but thoughts on the lineup, and here's the Fulham lineup as well. But Pete, we'll go to you first. Thoughts on Newcastle lineup?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure on what it was going to look like. I assumed it was going to be Hall right back. I'll be honest, I didn't even really care at this point. I didn't care what the lineup looked like. I didn't care how it was set up. That was my honest feelings going into the game. my feelings changed whilst I was in the game. I have to be honest with you, because it was a back five with Hall as wing back and Murphy right wing back, and I think Eddie Howe's absolutely got it wrong. I thought it was a dreadful decision to go five at the back. I thought it was poor management from him and his coaching staff. To think Fulham away, right, where Fulham have got arguably their better players on the bench that aren't in good form, to go five at the back. Are you kidding me? And so at that point, when I saw that at the beginning of the game, I did care. Because I thought, what the hell are you doing? And I'll be honest, it absolutely told in our performance, particularly in the first half. It was a joke. But anyway, yeah. In terms of the personnel, God, I hope it's the last time we see Jacob Murphy put on a black and white shirt. I'm just sick of seeing that guy in the team. I really am. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sick of seeing Dan Burn in this team. This guy just gets shoehorned in constantly into a team that doesn't need him. Didn't need him today, but yet gets shoehorned in and gets pushed Lewis Hall onto. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry, but it just pissed me off. It just pissed me off, the whole thing. But yeah, to kind of round it up into a ball of shite. That's what it was. Chris, go for it, man.
I think you've put it very well, Pete. You put it very, very well.
A ball of shite, Chris.
I found it baffling. I didn't like the five at the back, and then just to add a little bit more onto what Pete was saying. Even the substitutions, I found a little bit odd. And at one point, even the commentator said it. Dan Burn was playing up front. Lewis Hall was right back. Then Malik Chow was right back. Then I think Jacob Murphy was right back. And we were just all over the place. And then Johan Wissa comes on and he's sitting deep asking for the ball. And I'm just thinking, what's going on here? I actually looked on the pitch at one point and it was like out of position, out of position, out of position, out of position. I think the only player who consistently played in the right position was Nick Pope. So yeah, but like Pete said, does it really matter? Does it really? Is it any different than what we've seen for the majority of this season? Probably not. I actually felt for Harvey Barnes because I thought when he come on, he probably just thought, what's the point? What is the point? I found the lineup baffling. I found the subs baffling, and then Sean Neave gets his opportunity, and he's just chasing shadows. He's just come on to just basically chase shadows. That's all he's doing. So quite what he got from that, I don't know. Congratulations to him, obviously. But yeah, I think that's all I'll say on it.
Yeah, you're right, boys. If we have been kind of experimenting, kind of using these games as kind of a pre-season, this one is definitely a failed experiment because it was all over the place. Now you do wonder, has the whole Sandro thing in the warm-up thrown everything left field, but they're professional footballers and they're everyone's experienced, including the management team, so they should be able to deal with that. I'll quickly fly through some stuff here. 4 minutes in, Bruno gave an Iobi and Fulham an early chance as he's dispossessed, came to nothing. 20 minutes, this is the goal. Free kick from Kevin, kind of hit the nearly the top bins, the kind of top corner off the crossbar kind of thing. It drops right to Diop, who was first to react. No one in the Newcastle shirt was anywhere near that in terms of reaction. 1-0. Any comments on that one?
Yeah, just shocking defending by Newcastle. Look, it's a great free kick by Kevin, I believe it was. Great free kick. Pope's covered his lines. He's done all he can to kind of stop it from going in. But it's not about Pope or the free kick. It's about what our players do in that moment. 2 players I'm looking at in particular is Bruno Guimaraes, our captain. The fact that he just lets Diop go past him without even stopping him. In fact, I think he pushes him in that direction. He can't, rather than tracking him, he kind of pushes him further forward, like pushes him away, which gets him right into the position in which he gets the header. So Bruno's got to do more there. I thought it was really poor from him. But secondly, Joe Willock, absolutely shocking. There's a video going around on socials with him just kind of flinging a little foot in the air to think that was ever going to do anything to stop it. And then the fact that he does that and then just literally doesn't move from the moment the free kick's hit to Diop putting it in the net, he literally doesn't move. Neither does Bruno, by the way, or a number of other Newcastle players. But you're looking at those two players, the closest to Diop, that could have potentially done something. It was just a lack of awareness, a lack of that ability to kind of sniff out danger and just look at the situation and go, where do I need to be? How do I need to react in that situation? It just head's not in the game, head's not 100% focused, head's not on the job in hand, which was to try and win that football match, which, just it feeds and eats into a number of other issues. But yeah, just shocking from our point of view. And I'll be honest, up until that point, Fulham, yes, they may have had a little bit of the ball in our area, a little bit more of the ball, but they weren't good. Fulham weren't good up until that point, and probably even after that point. They just weren't good. Like, we just didn't have anything in our locker that was anything better than them, which is another conversation we'll come on to. But Chris, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think you've summed it up well, mate. I think when Alex Iwobi starts looking like a world beater, you've got problems. You've got big issues. Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Willock. Yeah, I saw that video going viral of him raising his leg. But you raise a good point, Pete, in the sense that it's what he does after he does that. The pathetic attempt to block a free kick that was nowhere near him, by the way. But then it's the fact that he doesn't even try and react. He doesn't even try and get back in and try and deal with the ricochet from the crossbar. To me, it just typified the performance. It typified the display. There was lots of players whose heads were elsewhere today, and that goal almost proved it. Really, I think a lot of players probably didn't even want to really be there. We even saw a comment, didn't we? I think it was from George Colgan, who said when the players ran over to Eddie Howe for the drinks break, one of the first things Tam Burn said, "Oh, what's the West Ham score?" So it just kind of, George Colgan, he was quoted as saying, "What's the West Ham score?" So I know everybody wanted to know what was going on with West Ham and Tottenham, but the fact that that's the first thing he says during a water break, it just kind of says it all, really, doesn't it? So yeah.
Fuck's sake! What are we? If the players on the pitch playing for the team that we love can't concentrate on the game, what the fuck are we doing here talking about it afterwards? It's a total waste of time. That is a total. Yeah. I did not know that, Chris.
Yeah, George Colgan, he said he actually heard him say it. Because obviously he would have been in the press box. He would have been close to it. Yeah.
For fuck's sake. I did see the Willock thing, but I didn't put it in our chat because it was just. I think there's plenty of more of them that were half-hearted in trying to no one got back, so to try and react to that one. Oh, Lord. 25 minutes. Nice play for Newcastle. Ball across to Hall. Hated kind of taking off his toe from Castagna. Was a chance, though, for Newcastle 5 minutes after a goal one behind. 32 minutes. Willock has a shot saved from an angle. 32 minutes. Beautiful touch by Nick Waterman. I think we commented on this in our chat. He just needs to get a shot off. He never got that far, bro. A kind of touch of what he can do, but we have definitely not seen enough of it. Newcastle start to play a bit better since going behind, but not create enough shooting chances. And then at times, they looked like they were meeting for the first time. And I did kind of question as the Sandro injury right before the start of the game, kind of, or whatever kept them out of the game, has to kind of change our approach. But that took us to halftime, 1-0 down, and boos at halftime as well, boys. And then anyone wants to say on the first half?
Are you really surprised there was boos at halftime?
No.
We say it every week. Newcastle United fans are the best in the country. They're travelling their droves up and down the country, spending hundreds of pounds. People don't realise how much that costs from Newcastle to London. You're talking over £200 train. Then that's not even including drink and food and underground and travel and all the rest of it. You're talking a 3, 4, maybe even a £500 round trip. For that, I'm not surprised the away fans were booing. I'm not surprised. To be fair, I don't think we've heard it enough. I think sometimes our fans are too loyal in situations like this. Sometimes they're too loyal. To see that at half time, I'm not surprised there were boos. Absolutely not surprised there were boos. Because that was absolutely dreadful. And there can't be any excuse of the weather. Every single team that was playing today was in those same conditions. Fulham were in those same conditions. So there's no reason why we should have put a performance out like that. Fulham were in the same boat as us going into this game. Same points. Same fact that they couldn't really achieve European football in any sense. So we're exactly in the same boat. But why is it that they had more desire and determination, considering their managers going effectively, considering some of their best players are leaving? They should be on the floor even more so than us. I'm not surprised our fans were booing at half time. I think they were quite right to boo what they'd seen on that pitch from the management and the players, because it wasn't good enough at all.
Chris, anything I could say about the first half?
It was just awful, wasn't it? It was awful. I don't blame any fans booing. From start to finish, it just wasn't good enough. I think that Nick Voltemada Maisie run was the best thing that we saw. And like you say, Daz, he should have got his shot off. But yeah, that was probably the highlight for me. But there wasn't many. Yeah, just another repeat of what we've seen this season, really, boys. And you know, Pete makes the point about the cost for fans travelling down to Craven Cottage today to go and watch that. The players should be disgusted with themselves. Not to mention the time as well. The time, that people's time's away from the families. People's time, could be doing something else. Could be, out enjoying themselves. I mean, I'm sure they were enjoying themselves to a degree, but having to sit through that for 90 minutes and seeing players putting in half-assed performances and, basically the mind's elsewhere and not really up for the battle. It's very disappointing. Very, very disappointing.
Into that second half, sub straight away. Murphy off, Barnes on. You got Malik Chow goes to right back, Lewis Hall goes to left back. 4-2-3-1. Kind of something a bit more familiar to them anyway. Newcastle again later on in the game to switch it again formation wise. I have very little notes on the second half because it was just crap. 65 minutes subs again. Bruno has enough. He kind of took himself off then, and a poor display by Bruno, and probably has the World Cup on his mind, and probably doesn't want to get injured for it, and you can't blame him for that, I suppose. But he kind of checked out at that stage. Sula.
Can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Just on that point, Bruno, because I think it's a really, really important point. Because someone's put in the chat. In fact, it's one of our top mods. It's Jeannie Esther put this in the panel question, and I thought this was really, really important. Question for the panel and chat: why are we taking it for granted that G will be here come September? And there's a reason why I wanted to stop it there, is because this for me was one of the first, and I said it in the Mags Down South chat during the game, and I'll say it now. This was the first time I've ever seen Bruno G give up in a game. It's the first time I've ever seen it. He was trying his heart out. He's the one that was trying to galvanize this team, try and get this team playing. And at times, particularly in that second half, he was looking around him and he was seeing the likes of Willock and a number of others that just weren't arsed. And he got that yellow card because obviously he felt he was fouled. He wasn't. He got the yellow card from it. And in that moment when he's on that ground, I saw it in his face. He was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Get me off. You were right in what you just said, Daz. He subbed himself. Not the fact that there was a risk of injury or anything like that. He had enough. Now, going back to Jeannie Esther's question, I think it's a great question. It's a question we haven't had on this channel or on other channels, and Newcastle fans haven't talked about it enough. We've just expected that he stays. If I'm Bruno Guimaraes, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, do I really want this? Do I really want this? I'm 28, in the peak of my career. Do I really want this? Do I want to be playing with these players that don't give a crap about this? Now, things could change in the summer, and they have to. Players need to come in. But I looked at that and I thought that's one of the first. I've never seen Bruno give up in a game. And I don't blame him, by the way. This is not me having a go at him. Far from it. He was the only one that was given 100% effort in that game. He might have not been his best performance, but you could tell he had the heart and endeavour that he always has, and it's carried us through many a game this season when he's been fit. But I looked at him and I saw a different attitude on his face. I saw a player that wasn't that had enough. That had enough and gone, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. And I worry. It may not happen, but I worry that may turn into, you know what? I think I need to leave. I don't know. I don't know, and I hope it doesn't, because he's the only one in this team that I will. And you can put Lewis Halls and all the rest of it in there. Bruno Guimaraes is the only one in this team that I would genuinely be distraught about leaving this football club. He is the only one. There's no one else in this football club that I would be distraught on losing, apart from Bruno Guimaraes, because he is what symbolises Newcastle United. He's the only one that symbolises what Newcastle United means, and we can't afford to lose him. But if he turns around and says he's ready to leave, I think we are in a very, very difficult position. But I'll let you get your thoughts on that first.
But sorry, Chris, I was at one point, but linking back into what you said earlier, Chris, coupled with that Bruno taking himself off, and Dan Burn asking at the water break when they're 1-0 down, what's the score of the West Ham game? Today's game was an absolute joke. Then why not just play the youngsters then in that game? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because if they're all conscious of minding themselves to the World Cup, don't play them. Don't play, and let them sit it out with Gordon, and don't even have them on the bench. Play youngsters from the start and kind of just make a statement in that fashion. Sorry, Chris, get your thoughts on the question linked to Iniesta on will Bruno still be here?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I agree with Pete. I think it is a great question. And we all take it, and to a degree, not that we mean to, but we do all take Bruno for granted. Our captain, the person who gives his all. It actually panned to him a few minutes before he went off, and he was literally dripping with sweat. He looked exhausted, absolutely exhausted. And there was a few players who it also went to, and they didn't look the same as Bruno Guimaraes. And yeah, I mean, the force of losing him is just something else, isn't it? Because you look around the team and you go, well, I mean, my first question is, well, who's the leader? Who's the captain? If Bruno's not here, who's the captain? Kieran Trippier is leaving. Dan Burns shouldn't be in the starting 11. And then you start to really struggle, because then you start going, right, well, who is it then? And that's the worrying thing. That obviously, the future's uncertain around the likes of Tonali, Tino, Gordon. So then you go, well, who is the captain? Who would step into Bruno's shoes? And that it's a worrying thing, and we certainly shouldn't take him for granted. And we've always said, haven't we, boys? If a real big European powerhouse came in for him, we'd expect him to leave. You know, if a Real Madrid, a PSG, someone of that ilk came in for them, we would expect it to be difficult to keep hold of him. Thankfully, they haven't done that, but who's to say that doesn't happen in the summer? I saw something actually earlier today on X, and I thought it's a good point. Not that I want to entertain it, but it was a good point. I forget who said it. It was a Man United channel, and they said, why would we pay 100 million for Tonali, which is allegedly what Newcastle wants, when we could get Bruno for cheaper and he's 10 times the player? And it did make me think, well, it's a good point. It is a good point, because I don't think it would cost 100 million to get Bruno out of Newcastle. To us, he's priceless. But I think the hierarchy, looking at him being 28, and if Bruno says, I want to go, it adds a little bit of uncertainty, boys. And Pete, you said that is the first time we've ever seen him bring himself off. And he did bring himself off. He untied his boots. He was looking over to the bench as if to say, done. The physio was messing with his leg, but clearly there was nothing up with his leg. You could tell that. He just had enough. He'd had enough. Yeah. He'd had enough. And can you blame him? Because, like you say, when you look around the pitch, and if your teammates aren't asked, why are you asked? Why is he running himself into the ground, fighting a whole other team, and potentially risking his World Cup opportunity with Brazil? Why would he do that if the other 9-10 players on the pitch with him aren't as bothered? Why would he? Why would he do that?
I'm just sorry, boys. I've just had a flash moment there to just comparing it to an amateur sport and like people who men and women who would die for their club or die for their county and stuff like this, and then these lads are getting super wages every week, and and I'm not just picking up Bruno here. This is in general, and the effort is non-existent in this game from a lot of players across the pitch. It's a joke. Anyway, some subs. Sula off, Wisa on, Bruno off, Alanga on. Nick on 76 minutes, Nick Walter off, Sean Neave on for his debut, as Chris mentioned. 18-year-old turning 19 next week or something. Then a second goal, Cairney with the precision finish. He had a few pops earlier as well, but he was allowed to shoot from distance, and he obliged about it 2-0. Any thoughts to that goal, boys?
Yeah, just another shit goal to concede. Look, from their point of view, it's a great strike. Nothing that Pope really could do about it. But I'm asking those three, maybe four even players on the edge of the box. Do you want to close him down? Do you want to stop him from shooting from distance? The guy was able to cut inside, take a touch, have a cup of tea, and go, all right, okay, if you're not going to close him down, I'll strike it. And he did. And he's proven over the years that he can hit a ball from distance and put it in top corners. He's done it many a time for Fulham. And that just kind of shows where we're at, really. No one was really asked about working, tracking, off the ball pressing, stopping blocks, shots, etc. And particularly from the midfield. I have to say, it's particularly from the midfield. I think the defence was overly bad today. One or two people in the chat said about, Chow and Botman, etc. Yeah, I don't think they had bad games. I actually don't. Especially Chow got moved all over the place. That's another thing I'll come over to in a second. But I thought the midfield was particularly poor in their work rate, and they've just allowed him to shoot. And if you allow a player that can hit a ball from distance to shoot, you're going to get punished. As simple as that. And look, at that point, there was only one team ever looking to score the next goal, and it wasn't Newcastle United running up to that goal that actually happened. They were the ones that were looking to score the next goal. And yeah, at that point, I'm already looking at my watch and I'm going, just sign me out this season now, because this is a joke.
Chris, any thoughts on Fulham's second goal even?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to what Pete said is that I thought it was interesting when Anthony Alanga started having a go at Joe Willock. You could clearly see there was arguments between the two of them. But again, it's probably what, to go back to your analogies, as with your amateur football, it's what was happening. It's what was happening, on a pitch with your mates on a Sunday league on 11 aside. You then go to do it, but you can't get there quick enough, and then you're going to your mates. What are you not participating? Are you just gonna let him do what he wants? Because Tom Cairney picks the ball up, he lines it up, and then when you watch the replay, there's no one within 10 yards of him. So yeah, great finish, and Pope, absolutely nothing that could be done. But that was like a training drill for Tom Cairney. He just takes his touch, puts the ball just in front of him, and then thinks, I'll have a crack at this. And nobody makes it difficult for him. It's just, there's a red carpet. Off you go. It's not good enough. But it kind of, as I keep saying, it's just a rinse and repeat of what we've seen this season. It's just simply not good enough. And the players need to be held accountable. But will they be held accountable? This is the thing. Don't know.
Right, Fulham looked like the only team that was going to get a third goal in this game, because we did not look like getting anything. 83 minutes, Burn off. Alex Murphy on for a cameo. Of course, the game is over when Eddie Howe starts to bring on Alex Murphy. He never gives him a chance. Burn wanted to know the West Ham game. get them a ticket for the West Ham game, and let Alex Murphy play from the start. But full time, 2-0, season over. Thank fuck for that. Anything else on the wrap up of the game before we go looking at tables, boys?
I thought the referees were trolling us. I did. Why the heck they thought it was in the right minds to add 8 minutes onto that game was a joke. I was hoping for a 90 minutes, just blow the whistle, end the game, done. Why they put us through even more torture of sitting through 8 minutes worth of extra time was a ridiculous joke. But all seriousness aside, I was very, very happy to hear the final whistle blown. At that point, the TV was very quickly switched off. And I'm looking forward to a summer of hopefully big change at Newcastle United, because I've been waiting for this since the beginning of January. And it's finally here. So I'm very, very happy to be in this moment now where we can completely just wash our hands with this season, done and dusted. It's over, and look ahead to hopefully more promising times.
Here for that. Chris, anything else of the game you want to mention?
Not really. No. Yeah, just please the season's over. I got Oasis in my head then. Don't look back in anger. Maybe I'm thinking of Pep Guardiola. I don't know. But yeah, season's over. Thank God. And we still had time to remind my blue mates that we still managed to finish above them. Don't quite know how, but we did. So that was a small little win for me. Very small win. But yeah, a really, really poor season. Really, really poor season. And it's so frustrating when you see, the likes of Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton all getting European football, and credit to them, they deserve it. But yeah, very, very frustrating. And ourselves and Chelsea and other teams should be looking around just thinking what is going on. But yeah, I suppose my thoughts now for the coming weeks and months will be, can Eddie Howe turn this ship around? Is Eddie Howe the man to drive us forward? I saw lots of people online, suggesting that now is the time, and we need to start looking elsewhere. Whether that'll happen or not, we don't know. It doesn't look like it will. I suppose my biggest worry, boys, is when we get to the first game of the season, be it the middle of August, whenever it is, and we even dare see something similar to that, or similar to what we've seen this season. Because if we do, we're in massive trouble. Massive trouble. To be consistently bad for as long as we have throughout this season. And, we were talking, weren't we, on the previous shows recently, about, you want to finish the season strongly. You want to see a little bit of hope, a little bit of positivity going into the following season. And then to be served up with that and all those question marks, all those odd substitutions, setting up wrong, in-game management, players not looking bothered. I don't know. I'm not going into this summer positively. Hopefully that will turn around in due course. Maybe once I've got over the season, new players start walking through the door and certain players start walking out of the door. Maybe that will improve things. I don't know, but there's got to be big changes this summer. Big changes, because if we have the vast majority of this squad next season, we're in trouble. Big trouble.
I wonder, was it like viewed behind the scenes, not portrayed to us at all, but that this was just a free hit and just get through it, boys. Get you off to the World Cup. Yeah, and we can't get Europe, so it doesn't matter anyway. That kind of an attitude behind the scenes, which doesn't seem right to me, but because there was places up for grabs, there was prize money up for grabs, there was pride up for grabs as well. Yeah, and we used to smile when he came on. You got the yellow card early as well with the stupid tackle, pulling him back, really blatant. But Trent Trips came out and said as well this week and said he'll be a different player next season. I would rather him be a different player somewhere else myself, but that's what we have.
You got to think of you got to think. You know, I'm disappointed in him, and I'm. And some people, I was having a conversation with Fumby earlier, and he was saying like, you know, this game didn't matter, like it wasn't important, and yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it absolutely wasn't. For me, I said it on 12th Man on Monday. I said my season finished last Sunday when we won at West Ham. As far as I was concerned, the season was done. But the one thing I wanted to see is a run of form that ended the season positively. I wanted to see something that I could hold on to and go, you know what, I can see change come in. I can see, you know, with signings made, I'm still positive. I know, Chris, you said you're not positive about the summer. I'm still positive about it because I believe that Ross Wilson will bring in the players that we need to improve this squad. I genuinely do believe that. And I've said it for a while, and I'll continue to feel that way. I do think we are going to get some really talented players that are going to walk through this door in the summer that are going to improve this squad significantly in terms of quality. I do believe that. But what I wanted to see was almost from the manager. I wanted to see the manager put a run of form together that shows that regardless of players coming through the door and players leave, that he's able to play a certain way, that's able to make right decisions, that's tactically able to change things within the game. One thing has been talked about, I think there was maybe 3 or 4 times that back four changed within 98 minutes. That's not normal. That isn't normal. I don't care whether it's a nothing game or not. You don't chop. I mean, Lewis Hall, bless him. Like, he started left wing back, then was left back, then was right back over the course of the game. Malik Chow, centre back, right back, then back to centre, then back to centre back again. It's like you're chopping and changing your team all the time. It's clear that he doesn't even know what his best team looks like. He doesn't even know what needs to be done mid game. Like it's. And it was down to the fact that starting lineup wasn't right. Playing 5 at the back wasn't right going into the game. No. And I need to see that he's able to deal with that. Because we've not got, we've got another game in 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 days, to put it right. We haven't got that this season because we're not playing in Europe. So he's got to make sure that tactically, regardless of what players he's got to work with, tactically it's right and it works and it's successful. Because we need to have a better season next season, a significantly better season. And it's all on him. It's all on him. Yes, that game didn't matter today. But I needed to see something that I could hold my hat onto. The previous results, Brighton and West Ham, to a point, yes. But you can argue those teams weren't great. But I needed to see something, and I didn't quite see it today. And it was really disappointing to see. But ultimately, you've got the likes of Willock, you've got the likes of Murphy, that for me are probably playing, and their performances suggest that they're not going to be at the club next season. And rightly so, by the way. Johan Wissa, I've said it for a while. I want him gone. I don't want him at Newcastle. I've seen enough from him. 55 million or not, I don't care. I'll take the hit on him. I've seen enough to suggest that he is not right for Newcastle United. He's not. He doesn't. He might train well, but he doesn't perform well on the match day, and that's what I care about. I care about him performing on the match day. There's too many individuals there that are just not right for this club that need to be moved on. Eddie Howe, Ross Wilson, David Hopkinson have the biggest summer that I've ever witnessed at Newcastle United. Last season was meant to be it. This season it is. It is the biggest summer Newcastle United have ever been involved in, because they have to move players on, but they have to bring players in, significant players in. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. And they've got to get it right. They have to get it right.
Pete, can I ask you a question, a follow-up question to that? Do you, and we haven't really discussed this actually, but do you have the confidence that Ross Wilson is going to, we know this is Ross Wilson's transfer window. We know that, and we hope that is the case. But do you have the confidence that Eddie Howe is going to let go of certain players? Or because we know, don't we, historically, that he likes to keep his unit? Or do you think Eddie Howe's going to, do you think Eddie Howe's seen enough and is probably a bit like, I've been too loyal to you, too loyal to you, too loyal to you, and needs to move on? And is that why we're seeing all these changes, all these weird changes? And so, or do you think that Ross Wilson's going to be going, no, Eddie, this is what we're doing. We've had this offer. He's going. So like it or lump it, he's going. How do you think that's going to play out?
How do I think it's going to play out?
Mm.
I think it will play out the way I want it to play out. And the way I want it to play out is if Ross Wilson says this player needs to go, this player needs to go. And it has to be that. I'm sorry, like we can argue, and we gave the excuses last summer that Eddie Howe didn't have a sporting director in position, and he had to manage a lot of that on his own. And we gave him, those excuses last summer. He doesn't get those excuses this summer. He's got now a sporting director, a good one, by the way, someone that can get the deals done. And and Ross Wilson needs to take control of this situation. He has to. He has to go, you know what, this is right for us. And I have to say, it's already been kind of like murmured that this was going to be the case in what Eddie Howe said, what David Hopkinson said in previous weeks and even months, like moving forward from probably about March time. There was the noises of a change in strategy that's been mooted by David Hopkinson and Eddie Howe. Although he almost went back on it in his press conference in the build-up to this game, it's already been mentioned numerous times that the strategy is going to change. Ross Wilson will take control of this situation. I believe it. I genuinely believe it that Eddie Howe will literally be given the players to work with, because that's how it should be. Eddie Howe just needs to get back to doing what he does best. He is not somebody that is a sporting director that can close deals. He is a coach. He's someone that coaches players to be better. We've seen it. He's improved players. He's made players better. He needs to get back to doing that. Do I believe it will happen? I do. I genuinely do. And I think the club and the sporting director and David Hopkinson need to take control of this situation this summer. And I'm confident that they're going to do that. And I'm putting all my confidence in them to ensure that happens. Because if it doesn't, then it won't be a good outcome for Newcastle United. It just won't be. I'm fully on board with this now, is that Eddie Howe needs to get this right on the pitch, start from next season, 1 game a week, start from next season. If it doesn't start well, it doesn't show the overall outcome of the season, but if it doesn't start well, he'll be under pressure. And if he doesn't start well, he'll be lucky to make it past October. And I'm saying it right now. As much as I want Eddie Howe to succeed, he won't get that same pass that he got this season. He got a very graceful pass for an absolute abject and shocking and failure of a season. He won't get it next season. And he shouldn't neither. If he doesn't perform, if he doesn't get these tactical decisions right, if he doesn't get these new signings into a system that works, if he continues to shoehorn Dan Burn and other players into this team when they have no right to be in it, he will get sacked. It's an absolute guarantee for me. He will get sacked, because Newcastle United cannot afford to fail again after this season. They just cannot. So, in answer to that question, Ross Wilson will make those final decisions. He will rubber stamp those moves, and he will get the sign off of players that we want this summer. I already feel like he's working on it right now. You only have to go out there and listen to and hear the links, the likes of Lamine Kamara, the likes of Ewan Jawan, and et cetera. Like he's already getting to work. This is Ross Wilson doing his job, and he's getting to work already. Exactly. Why I'm confident that he will get these deals done and he'll get the right players in. That's why I believe in it.
Chris, I just want to answer that question as well.
Yeah, go for it, Daz.
It was a good question, and I think the only reason why I believe it'll be a Ross Wilson summer as well is that's the only reason why Eddie Howe is not getting the sack. That if Eddie Howe wasn't willing to relinquish control over the control freak that he has been, or is portrayed to be, and because he was jack of all trades last summer, he had to be. But if he wasn't willing to give let Ross Wilson do his job, then he wouldn't be here, and he won't be here if that doesn't happen up until December, let's say, he'll be gone. But now he gets to focus on what he does best, as Peter said, working on the training pitch, coaching players, trying to get the best out of the players, and trying to mold these new players that we come in, and hopefully we get some in early that we have that can hit pre-season. I think is it pre-season? Is it the 13th or 16th of July that they come back? So I heard that date mentioned on. So 13th, is it?
Back on the 13th, but there's no confirmation
it's a Monday.
Of when the trip is.
Yeah, so so he's got to hit the ground running there and concentrate and do his job, and his team of people as well, or they won't have jobs by Christmas at Newcastle.
I just want to answer this question because from what I said about Eddie Howe or Ross Wilson, I can't really decide on what it is. I want Ian to come back to me because he put Pete, you're delusional. What am I delusional about? Am I delusional that Ross Wilson will get the signings in, or am I delusional that Eddie Howe will get sacked if he doesn't get it right? Because what I'm saying is if he doesn't get the signings, if Ross Wilson gets the signings in and Eddie Howe doesn't get that right, he'll get sacked. Am I wrong in thinking that? Because I feel that's a genuine and kind of natural response to this situation. Or do you think that Eddie Howe won't relinquish the control? I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you're actually saying here, because I don't know what you're kind of getting at with that statement. It's a pretty bland statement that doesn't kind of mean anything. But feel free context. Exactly. Yeah. It's very bland. It doesn't mean anything. Come back to me with what you think I'm delusional with, because I think I'm well in my right to think that Ross Wilson will get the deals done because we've got a sporting director that can actually get it done. But equally, Eddie Howe will get sacked if he doesn't get it right, which I think is absolutely and should be the case. But he might have a different stance on it. So I'm giving rightful reply to Ian on that.
Just if you're looking for someone that is delusional, Frieden is in the chat. Frieden, can we still get you up, by the way? Just checking. He's at it again.
He said it for the last time. He said it for the last time.
He's missed out something, though. He's missed out something. 26-27. That's what he's missed out.
That's right.
There you go, Frieden.
Hopefully, Frieden. Hopefully. We'll look at the table for a second, boys, because not that it matters. And the final table, it doesn't say all zeros on it yet, but it will soon. We're going to have to refresh this. Yes, so we know Arsenal champions. Congratulations to Arsenal. Pep is gone. Man United back in the Champions League. Villa back in the Champions League. Liverpool back in the Champions League. Bournemouth and Sunderland in the Europa, and Brighton in the Conference. Brighton let themselves down on the last day, but they're in Europe. I'm sure they'd be happy with back. I know Kieran Maguire would be happy to see them back, and so would Adam back in Europe. Brentford missed out on goal difference. Chelsea, much the same as us. Shocking season and managerial merry-go-round there. See what Alonso does next season for them. Fulham, we should have said congratulations to Emilio and Fulham today as well, and their top 11. We'll see what happens to Marco Silva now after that. We know we've just spoken about us. 12th is where we finished up in the league. But Chris will be happy that we on goal difference of one goal. we and Everton couldn't do it. They had one job today and they couldn't manage that. Wow. But look at Everton are in 13th. Leeds, their season was over as well. They did their bit in letting West Ham win. But Palace finished off the season as well. A bit of a crazy season. Glasner is gone now from Palace. Forest, shocking season as well. But comparing it to last season, but I'm sure they'll want to be coming back fighting and stronger next season. Spurs live to fight another day. We'll see what they do now. Next season, whether it's in another season fighting for relegation or whether they can kick on. And yes, we say goodbye to West Ham and Dan Lawless. We already say goodbye to Burnley and Wolves. That is the table, boys. Anthony, you want to comment on with regards to the table?
Nope.
No, nothing from me. No, just a disappointing 12th finish, really. I still can't believe we've ended up there. I really can't, and it's really frustrating when you see what we were 4 points off the conference, 5 points off the Europa League. Yeah, it's very frustrating, very frustrating. But do you know what, boys? Ultimately, we are where we are. We deserve to be where we are because we've not been good enough. Yeah. To finish below Fulham and Brentford and Brighton and Sunderland and Bournemouth, it's not good enough. Really isn't. Yeah. Really isn't.
Well, I had us at finishing 6th this season. Where did you guys have us finishing?
I said 4th.
I said, and I maintained that we had to finish 5th because we needed to do back-to-back Champions Leagues. That was why I had it as 5th. And that's why I think it's just a monumental failure. That's why it was. I never believed we could get higher than 4th just because of the teams that were there. But 5th was Champions League back to back. That was what we needed to do to show that we were a serious club, that we were serious about where we were going as a project, to back up what we'd done the last season. So I felt that's why I said 5th, because we had to do that. The problem was that we prioritised Champions League football in the latter stages and Carabao Cup to Premier League. That's the mistake that Eddie Howe shouldn't make again. Premier League is always bread and butter.
Has to be next season, that is for sure. Boys, and we're moving that table. Chatters, don't look at that table. There's a new one coming soon. And it's a fresh start for everyone. And we can dream again. Can't be frightened. Right. We got some comments, questions, boys.
Yeah, we've got loads actually. Loads and loads of super chats. So thank you everyone in advance for those super chats. And we will head to them now. Yeah, we've got loads. GK3719, thank you so much for your super chat. And GK says, awful display and hard to see how any of this improves. That said, a bright spot for me is the Loads of Mag team. Thank you for all your efforts. I appreciate what you do and your perspective more than I can say. Hopefully the club turns the page. Thank you so much, mate. That was really kind of you. Really nice.
Thanks, GK. And it's not been an easy season for us. We had so much hope with the Champions League, and the Champions League nights were great. And we even did some live watch-alongs and stuff as well along the way. But yeah, the league and these reaction shows to poor performance have been tough. And you're watching them as well. You know how tough it is as well. You're feeling the same things that we're feeling because we're fans like the rest of the league. And some of you get to more games than others. And some of you live in Newcastle, some of you live right across the world. So, but it's great to be able to interact with you and to get your thoughts as well. But thanks very much, GK. On to next season.
Yeah, appreciate the comments. It's been a draining season for me personally. It's been a really tough season to get through, and there's been times where I haven't really wanted to come on and talk about Newcastle United. If I'm going to be honest with you, it's been really hard to drag myself on and actually just sit here for an hour, 2 hours, and talk about it. But comments like yourselves and people in the chat that are great. Not always agree with what we say. There's a few that on here that don't agree with what I say, but I just talk from my heart. I just talk from what I feel as a Newcastle fan and as a football fan. But comments like yourself, GK, and many others is the reason why I still do what I do. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, boys. Absolutely. It's always nice to have a little bit of love from our chatters. It is very much appreciated, everybody. And on the subject of love, Genie Esther, he says, Daz, Pete and Chris, congratulations on 40,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, Genie Esther. Thank you very much, mate. We were delighted when we hit that target. Very proud as a channel to do so. And yeah, obviously, big thank you to everybody for subscribing and being on the journey with us.
Thanks a million to everyone's subscribers to us, and it is great to hit that milestone. And we kind of kind of get on to now. We don't even focus anymore. We just carry on. But there's always always trying to get to the next target. But plenty more to come from Royal Mag and UFC.
Absolutely. Lee Owens has to go and ruin it, doesn't he? 40,000 plus Todd Bowley. Lee, why are you doing that, man? Todd Bowley, get him out of there, man. I've had him for a while, so hopefully he doesn't forget that.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. He'll be back. Yeah. Right, boys. Stephen, 1969. Again, a little bit more love. Lads, thanks for the coverage. It's been first class. If Eddie is a top manager, how come the big sides in the UK and Europe are not queuing up for his services? Pete, what are your thoughts on that from Stephen?
They're not queuing up for his services because of the monumental failure that he's had this season. I think, if he hadn't made many a mistake over the course of this season, I think he would have been in line for a Man United or a Chelsea or etc. But I think this season is, as it has his fans, it's put a big question mark on Eddie Howe this season. From what he's done previously, everyone's gone fantastic manager. In big moments, he's created a tactical system that's been able to override the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Liverpool in the cup final, etc. He's been able to tactically outsmart a lot of top managers, including Pep Guardiola against Man City on occasions. But this season has raised massive question marks, which is why we, as a fan base, have got a big question mark on Eddie Howe. And if we've got a big question mark on Eddie Howe, opposition teams and clubs will also have a big question mark on Eddie Howe. And for me, I would love Eddie Howe to be successful. I'd love him to turn it around and make right decisions and tactically do the right things to get us back up to where we want to be. But he's got it all to do next season. Eddie Howe has got it all to do next season. Now, first of all, we need the players in. But secondly, from pre-season, like you boys have just said, July the 13th, from that moment onwards, it's on Eddie Howe. He has to get it right. He'll have a full pre-season. He's not going across the other side of the world. He's going to La Manga, which is down the road in comparison. So he's getting everything he wants.
Yeah.
Everything he wants in terms of a pre-season. Get it right. Make it work. But that's why other top teams are not coming in for him, is because there's a big question mark on his back. And he's got it all to prove, because he either proves it and hits back and changes this team and rebuilds it and makes it better, and we see the fruits of that, or he doesn't and he's out of a job. For me, it's that simple.
Yeah, he's taken us so far. It's kind of falling apart a bit now. It's can this rebuild? Can he kick on from here? He didn't get the chance, or he walked away as well from Bournemouth when they got relegated. He got the chance at Newcastle. It's kind of uncharted territory what happens here. So he can go one or two ways. But that's coming up next season. Join us for that one. What happens next?
Yeah. Absolutely. Off the back of that, boys, somebody put this in the chat, and I actually posted it in our chat and then deleted it because I thought I think I've misread this, but it appears that other people have read it how I initially read it. Where is it? Here we go. James Walbridge. Jordan Cronin wrote out, good friend of the channel, Jordan Cronin from the Geordie Journos, said, a quote from Eddie Howe after the game: "My commitments never wavered from day one until today." That's a pretty big quote. Now, I read it like you did, James, initially, and I was like, oh, his commitments wavered. But then I read it again, and I was like, is he just saying that from day one until today, it's exactly the same? Daz, tell us your thoughts on this first. How did you read it? Because I read it, and I thought, oh, my God, that's him saying his commitments wavering. But then it was also the period, isn't it? How do you read it?
Well, thanks, James, for bringing it up. Pete has the picture there as well with the actual quote from Twitter. And I'm looking at it here now as well. My commitments never wavered from day one until today. It's like he's still maintaining that he's committed to the club. He's kind of talking about his future, that he's going to be here next season. He's not tapping out anytime soon. That's how I read it. Now you could read it a different way as well, but that's what I believe. That's what he's getting at.
Yeah. And I suppose with it being commitment, Pete, is that him? It would be very odd, wouldn't it, for him to come out, I suppose, and say, "I'm not committed to Newcastle United anymore." I suppose when I first read it, I thought, is it based on what he's seen from the players? I don't know, because I questioned a lot of commitment out there on the pitch. But what were your thoughts on it, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, the way I read it when I saw the tweet come out from Jordan is that he's basically saying from then till now, I've been totally committed to this club. Not that until this moment, and now I'm no longer committed. I didn't see it like that. But to be fair, with the wording and how he said it, it's quite easy to read it in two different ways. The only way you'd be able to properly read the context is if you actually heard it coming from himself. So if you heard it come from him, and he's actually saying it, you're able to kind of read into it a little bit more. And see what he actually really meant by what he said. But yeah, that's kind of how I read it from that, is that it was just that he's still committed as he was before, even today. So yeah.
Right, let's see, and we still have a good few number of super chats here, so we'll get through these. Nick Thornton, thank you very much for your super chat, Nick. Nick says, boys, I'm seriously worried what this summer and next season will be if Howe stays. World class by 2030, my hairy arse.
Can you still hear me, boys?
Yeah, I can hear you, Daz.
Yeah, am I frozen?
I thought you'd throw it, but I thought that was just at my end.
Yeah, mine's been going on and off, to be fair. Like when I was talking then, it was like kind of kept freezing. But you guys were okay, but mine kept freezing, so I think it just might be connection issues. But we can still hear you. Go for it, fella.
Okay. Oh, right. I think it's going back to life now. So seriously, what's up this summer? So work class. Yeah. I cannot comment on how hairy Nick's arse is. So that's my answer there to Nick's question.
What about you, Pete? I mean, in terms of, are you concerned around? Are you concerned around the summer with if Eddie Howe stays or when Eddie Howe stays? I suppose it kind of touches on what you were talking about earlier, really, to a degree.
Yeah, it's. I need to see what comes in first.
Yeah,
I need to see what quality comes in the door. Obviously, players will leave, but we've already speculated on those players, so that just needs to play out. But it's about what quality a player comes in. And yeah, the 2030 thing, I think is absolutely, Nick, you're absolutely right to have concerns about that, just because at this moment in time, it is very much a big question mark about 2030. I remember having the conversation a while back with you, boy, probably when it came out in February time, when he first made those comments about 2030. And I remember saying it was the wrong time to do it. It was absolutely the wrong time to talk about this 2030 when we were in such bad form and we're in a semi-final second leg that we just weren't going to win. It was just the wrong time to say it. And if it had been saying it at the end of the season with all the big changes and all the money and the investment that's going into the club, which is positive, it's great, and talk about the stadium and the training ground that's going to be talked about during this summer, that was the time to talk about 2030, not now, or certainly back in February. It wasn't then. But yeah, this summer, I'm not worried about this summer because I do think we'll get the quality of player in. It's about what we then do with those quality players that come through the door. Can we make them a team that's challenging again? That's the big question, and unfortunately, none of us can answer that because that's up to then Eddie Howe. Because Ross Wilson would have done his job. He'd have signed those deals and got those agreements and got those players, flown up to Newcastle for medicals, etc., etc. He'd have done his part. Now it's on the manager. Can you do yours? And that's the bit that that's the £100 million question, because that's what we'll be waiting on for 26-27 season.
Mm-hmm. I think for me. Oh, go on. That's sorry.
Well, just to add to my answer, I feel I didn't give Nick a full answer there, but sorry, wrong button. Where's my other button? I had another button here for that. I must have. You carry on, Chris. If I find it again, I'll jump in.
Yeah. No, all I was going to say was, mate. I mean, do you know what? Interestingly, for me, I'm gonna counter Pete's comment about the ins. I'm gonna say equally for me, are important is the outs, because I expect, like, say for example, if 5 players leave, I know 5 players are going to come in, or maybe more. I'm really, really intrigued, boys, to see who leaves the club this summer. Really, really intrigued, because I think the timing of Anthony Gordon leaving, obviously Kieran Trippier's left. We know Emil Kraft's left. We're trying to keep hold of Fabian Schär. But I want to see, I want to see a lot of movement going out. I want to see Ross Wilson move on, Jacob Murphy. I want to see Ross Wilson move on, Joe Willock. I want to see these moves happen. And that will give me real confidence if I see those moves happen. And then I'll be like, right, players coming in because we've moved people on that we need to. A few people in the chat have been mentioning, about players that, we're recruited under Steve Bruce. You know what I mean? It's a long time. And if we want to get to where we want to get to, we really do need to start moving some of these players on. There's a certain select few who I'd be happy to keep hold of, obviously. And we're hearing... In fact, I'm going to add a little extra on for you boys. Yeah, were either of you, I don't know whether we're just scarred or mentally worried. Were either of you worried about the comments? I'll come to you first, Pete. Were either of you worried about the comments that Eddie Howe made over Adam Ramsdale recently? Because that got me worried.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't.
Oh, mate.
What did you say?
Oh, he's brilliant.
I read it in the Chronicle from Lee Ryder, where he basically said what happens next with Ramsdale is up to Southampton. It was basically like insinuating that he can stay if they lower the price. That's what I took from it. So if they lower the fee in which they want to sell him for, then maybe there's a chance he can stay. Blah blah blah. That was kind of what I took into it. But I'll be honest with you. I just didn't have the headspace.
No,
to even believe it. I just didn't have the headspace.
Sorry for bringing it up. Sorry for bringing it up.
That could be a possibility. I'm not going to lie. I'm telling you right now, if he comes back to the club in any capacity, just sign me out. Just sign me out. I'm done. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I'll be honest. I chose to sidestep that one, which is why I've not brought it up. I'm not put it in any sort of conversation for transfer talk, and I will not put it in any conversation for transfer talk. So we've covered it on the match reaction, and this is where we will kind of dig a 6-foot hole and we'll bury that Ramsdale staying at Newcastle United talk, and we'll just kind of put the mud back over it. We'll lie it quite nice and flat. We'll lay some flowers so they blossom in the summertime, and then we move on. That's kind of where I want to stay with that Ramsdale talk. Hopefully you boys are okay with that.
Oh,
that's okay. And I found what I wanted to say to Nick as well. And I apologize for pressing the wrong button earlier. Just in relation to his world class here he are. When you know. Landscape.
Yeah, absolutely.
It brings us back.
Yeah.
Brings us back.
Absolutely. Nick Fortin, thank you, Nick, for your super chat, mate. Much appreciated. Bruno has carried this club all season. Yes. And Bruno Guimaraes ended up getting player of the season for Newcastle, didn't he? I believe.
Quite rightly.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so. Agree. Thank you for that. Where are we now? Jonathan Francois. Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan says, terrible season. However, At least we have the owners that will keep investing in the club. Future is still bright. Progress isn't always linear. Daz, is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, I think we sidestep. We didn't sidestep. We just didn't get time to answer about the owners there, to talk about it a bit more detail. Yeah, there's things moving behind the scenes in relation to the training ground and in relation to either a St James's Park expansion or a new stadium. It's just so slow and it's frustrating as well. But it has been a terrible season, Jonathan. And look at it. It can't get any worse. That's what I'm thinking. It cannot get any worse. I know where's Mick McCarthy when you need him. He's not too far away, but it can't get any worse.
Yeah. Pete, talking of getting worse, I'm going to throw this one at you, and it made me shudder. I'm not going to lie, because I don't know how comfortable I would feel answering this, so I'm going to give it to you, Pete. And this comes from Stephen 1969, and Stephen 1969 asks you, Pete, can you see Elanga and Wissa improving? I can't.
Nope. I'm done. I'm sorry. Like I'm just gonna you're gonna see a ruthlessness from me from now on. I'm not willing to give people chances any longer than they need to. And for me, you already know my feelings on Wissa. I want him gone. Elanga, I'll give him a season. Maybe just less than a season. I think that's more than fair. If I'm being honest, I think that's more than fair, giving him pretty much the full season. The guy has just shown no. Like I genuinely thought when I watched him away at Everton, when I saw that improvement, I thought, you know what, there's something there. And then we just saw absolute dross for weeks after that. I don't see it. I beg, I pray. Forest, somebody, anybody just comes in and just takes him, even if it's on loan for a season. Get him out. Get him out. Honestly, I'll be honest. We just need a new right wing. 2 new right wingers. Get them in.
Me too.
Even if they're versatile, they can play on both wings. I don't care. Anything's better than what we've got right now with Murphy and Elanga. Like, you paid 52 million, rising to 55 for that guy. And you don't trust him to even start games. That just shows where he's at right now. In the last game of the season, you don't even want to throw him on to go, you know what, last game of the season, let's just get him some minutes. They don't even want to do that. I pray that he has a really good World Cup. Just him. Not Sweden, just him. I'm praying on Sweden's downfall. And I'm praying for injuries for a certain striker for Sweden. I'm praying. But I want him to have a good summer because I want us to be able to maximize whatever loan or fee we get for him, because he is not, in my opinion, he's not making it in Newcastle United. And people might not agree with that, but that's just my opinion. I've given him enough time. He is not making it in Newcastle United. I want him gone.
And we have to show that ruthlessness, don't we? And, you know, some people would argue. I mean, I was just thinking on the top of my head, Pete, when you were talking about that. You know, if we sold him for, say, 35 million and we sold Wissa for 35 million, just 2 figures I've just plucked out my head there. Obviously, you're making 20 million loss maybe on each, roughly. It's 40 million loss you're making, which is not good. It's not good, is it? But you can make that money up elsewhere. And that's kind of where my head's at. It's just like, you know what? But then if they're out the building, you've then got to replace them. It goes back to what I was saying a bit earlier about the outs. If we sold those 2 players, regardless of the fee, obviously you'd want it to be as high as possible. You've then got to replace them. But then you're replacing them and you're having another roll of the dice. Yeah. Because right now, boys, I think if we brought in a right winger and a striker, even if it was for, you know, half of what we paid for Elanga and Wissa, I think we'd see more. I think we'd see more than what we've seen this season. I think we'd see more. I'd even put my neck on the line to say that whoever would come in would produce more than what we've seen from them too.
And those 2 boys are going to be on high wages as well. That's the only thing. Like, I'd love if we could get them on loan, but we probably have to subsidise their wages in some capacity. But I have a feeling. Look, I never wanted Wissa in the first place. I remember back to the reaction show of him signing. But I think he's from the noises are there. I think he's going to end up being here with us next year. Alanga, though, on the other hand, has no excuse. He had no injury of note, and
he was there for the pre-season. Daz, he was in Austria.
Yeah.
He was in Austria with Isaac.
And it's not. It wasn't the last minute thing either. We were looking at the season before and the January before. So this is just a really badly thought out plan going for Alanga.
That's what makes it worse, lads.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for him. There's an excuse for Issa to a point. Missing 3 months of the season, no pre-season, albeit in his own doing, etc., etc. There's at least excuses there that you can go, you know what, fair enough. With Alanga, like you said, he was in Austria. He did all of the pre-season, went to Celtic, etc., etc., all the way through.
Yeah.
And yet you're still seeing the dross that you're seeing from him now, to the point where the manager doesn't even want to play him. When it was talked about a month or so ago that we were willing to take hits on players, it looks like it's going to be him and Issa that would take hits on, and I back it. Sometimes you've got to, and I said it before, like Villa did it with Marlon, for example, and they did it with Gessan. They paid the money to sign those guys, and then they turned around and went, you know what, these ain't right for us.
It's not weird. Yeah.
Moved Marlon on after a year, moved him on to AS Roma, and to be fair, AS Roma is doing all right. Gessan went on to Palace. It looks like that might be turning into a permanent deal. It's all worked out, fair enough. Like we need to do the same. We need to go, you know what, this ain't working. To constantly bang the drum, we'll make it work, Sometimes, yes, if there's something to give you a little bit of hope for, fine. But there's no hope with Alanga. Maybe with Issa, but probably not, in my opinion. You move them on. You just go, you know what, cut your losses, move them on, get players in. It was a bad summer. Get players in where you've done your recruitment properly, you've done your data and your kind of scouting and your investigation work on the players, where you've got a full, proper remit, where you've done it to the right capacity, where you've not been panicked into making these decisions. You would rather move those players out and get players in that you know are going to be more likely suited to what you're going to do. So it improves things on the pitch. But
yeah.
It'll be intriguing. There's a lot to keep an eye on. Everything is going to be looked at with a magnifying glass this summer. Outgoings as well as incomings.
And sadly, Pete, because West Ham didn't manage to stay up, I know you mooted, didn't you? There was a possibility. It was a good shout. There was a possibility that maybe Nuno would want to sign Alanga for West Ham, but sadly, it's probably not going to happen now, is it?
No, my one hope now, and it's a long shot, but there's a high chance that Nuno won't stay at West Ham. So if he makes the move and gets another job in football, maybe Fulham, if Marco Silva goes.
Could be
Fulham, yeah. You know what to do. There's still hope, lads. There's still hope. If we can still hope now for European football, or Bryden can hope for European football, we could hope for an Alanga move to somebody in the Premier League. Somebody, anybody. Double deal, triple deal, Fulham. Murphy, Willock, Alanga. Triple deal. Come on. Yes. That makes sense. Get it done.
Oh, I'd love that. Who else have we got here? We have another super chat from Attacker number 2. Thank you, Attacker number 2. Attacker number 2 says, you go on about next season. What's going to change with this manager in charge? You're fooling yourselves if you think this improves. He goes now or he gets sacked in October. Doesn't matter who we sign. Daz, what are your thoughts? Yeah. I understand why Attacker number 2 feels that way. But what are your thoughts in terms of what he's saying there?
Thanks for the super chat, Attacker number 2.
Yes. Thank you.
I agree with some of it and disagree with some of it. He said the last bit, it doesn't matter who we sign. I believe it does matter who we sign, because it's the players that will take the pitch, of course. And Eddie Howe has proven before that he can get the best out of players. we need a reboot. We need a rebuild. So I think it does matter that the player. If we were to sign no one, and we were to hold on to a lot of the players that we have, especially if you look at our squad game, who we said we should leave, then yeah, you're getting exactly what you described there. And you're right. The next way, I'm just working backwards. He goes now, or he's sacked in October. I don't believe he's going anytime this summer. October, he could well be. If the players are bought in and he can't get a tune out of them, he has to go. I think it'd be closer to Christmas they would give it to till then, but he has to go. And everything else, yeah, I don't know. We just have to wait and see. He's gotten no more credit in the bank. That is for sure. He has used up everything, and he used it up for some people a long time ago. But it's make a break, for Eddie Howe.
Yeah, and Pete, I suppose attacker number 2. I mean, I've mentioned this myself actually. My concerns, and I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong, but yeah, they've been my concerns in terms of the October part, because and I think we'll know pretty early, Pete. We'll soon know come the middle of October, early September, whether we're being served up what we've been served up this season again next season, and then you're potentially putting next season under threat, because then it's bringing in a new manager. Is he going to like the players? Is he going to want his own players? All of these things, people. What is your response in terms of attacker number 2's comments there?
No, I think those comments are absolutely fair.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff is kind of what I previously mentioned. I do think the one thing I've said is that Ross Wilson will get the players in that the club wants, but it's how he goes about it. Do we know that Eddie Howe's going to wave his magic wand and make it all better? We absolutely don't. But it's on him. If he gets the players that he wants, it's then on him to produce the business. Does he improve or does he not improve? We don't know. We literally don't know. We're going on hope here. We're going on hope that with one game a week that we improve things, that the performances improve, that the results improve, because it helped us last time. And you've then seen the likes of Man United go on and do what they've done, finishing third, playing one game a week with a manager and a setup and a system that works for them. We're literally going on hope here. There's no guarantee of it all. But to be fair, none of us three have said there's any guarantee that we'll be back up there. There is, because there isn't. No. That's the reality. But the point that I made is that the players will come through the door. It's up to the manager to make them play in a system that makes it work. Attacker number 2 said, it doesn't matter who we sign. Well, it does matter, because we do need quality players, but it absolutely does matter that the manager gets the system and the tactical system and the way we're playing right. Because if that works, then those players will work. And the quality of player that comes in will improve us significantly. So that's what we're hoping. But you're right, there's no guarantee. This is what we said a minute ago. Everything's with a magnifying glass. We're watching it very closely, and we are seeing if this manager is going to improve things from what we've seen this season. But everything's up in the air right now. Everything is up in the air. Nothing's a guarantee. We are literally living on hope. And that's all we can do as fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple more super chats, boys, or 3. Guibazera. Thank you, Guibazera. Guibazera says he can't manage Premier League and Europe. He's proven that. He's not the manager that will take us to the next level, not the level that we want. I mean, Daz, again, touching on what Pete's just said, there is literally no excuses next season. There's literally none. There's none, because it's one game a week.
Yeah, exactly that. There is he's got what he's asked for. Really, in focus will be on domestic competitions and predominantly the Premier League. And as I've set the target for Eddie Howe or whoever is manager, Eddie Howe, it'll be is top 5 and 5th is my target for the next season. The other thing, though, is just on this comment, and maybe it's just a bit of realization as well. Because he's not the manager that will take us to the next level, not the level that we want, was the last part of this comment. But when the takeover happened, I thought this is going to take us to another stratosphere, Newcastle United, and maybe like the CEO's comments, being up there with the real big boys, Barcelona, Real Madrid's, and on the top of the Premier League, dominating as well as domestically, but in Europe as well. But the takeover and our ownership, they're in it to turn Newcastle, make them profitable. They're an investment company. It's a sovereign wealth fund. That's what their main goal is. They don't have the love of Newcastle that we have as fans, but they're in it to turn a profit, and they want to see us growing on the field and off the field and making us bigger, because eventually. And I didn't think about this when the takeover, but eventually they are going to sell us, but it'll be in time when it's the right time for them to cash out, and when they've turned that they can sell us for a huge profit from what they originally bought us for, and they've invested along the way, of course. But it was a stadium thing, like they're looking for investors further. It's not a case that they're just going to slap down the money to build a new stadium. They want something out of it as well. So it's just a bit of realization on that fact of our owners as well. So what is the next level? The next level to all of us, and everyone in the chat, might be something different. What matters is what's the next level for them.
What's the next level for you, Pete?
The next level is very simple for me. It's what I wanted this season, but we didn't get, is regular Champions League football. You can't move on to being anything other than that until you put back-to-back Champions League football seasons together. And that's what I hinged on this season. That's why I said fifth space is the place that we were going to, regardless of Champions League, regardless of cup competitions. This is why I go back to my point. For me, Eddie Howe prioritised the wrong competitions. He prioritised Champions League and trying to get to the latter stages and putting all of his players into those competitions, which is fine. That's up to him. And pushing for the Carabao Cup when he should have prioritised the Premier League. He took his eye off the ball. And that's why he's failed this season. Because you could have got away with getting to the knockout rounds or the knockout stage of the league stage where we beat Carabao. Basically, you could have got away with getting to that point and maybe having a half decent Carabao Cup run, but making sure you're doing well in the league, because your league's your bread and butter. For a team like Newcastle United and a club like Newcastle United, your bread and butter is not the Champions League. Your bread and butter is making sure that you're there again the next season, because the money that's generated off the back of that takes us to another stratosphere. Regardless of how good a season Aston Villa's been, and it's been a great season for them, Champions League football and Europa League win all in the same season, we are still neck and neck, because no team has been able to put Champions League seasons back to back. That's what we need to do. We need to almost get Champions League next season to stop them getting it. And so then we're back to square one, and then we need to go again. So for me, Champions League is an absolute must next season, and we then need to go on and do it again, because that's the only way we're going to kick on. We're generating really good revenues, record revenues commercially off the pitch, away from football generated revenues. Commercially, we're the highest of any club outside the top six, which is great, brilliant. But the Champions League revenues take you onto a different stratosphere. If you want to get anywhere near to the top six, to be able to provide the wages and the transfer fees, to get those top players, to challenge those teams that get the top players, you need to be putting Champions League on the table. But for me, the absolute minimum is that we get European football, and we've failed on both fronts this season. So for me, the next part, the next phase of this project is getting Champions League next season. Then it's about the 27-28 going and doing it again. That's what Newcastle United need to do. Otherwise, we're just going to be in a yo-yo cycle of just going on and carrying on doing the same thing. And we're never really going to progress. We might well commercially progress out off the pitch, which is great, but we're never really going to see the progression that we want to see. Now, the project for me of Newcastle United changed quite early on. We got the takeover and we're absolutely buzzing with the takeover, but the minute that they changed the sponsorship rules was the moment where Amanda Staveley, when she first took over Newcastle United, she did that very big interview that was still sticks in a lot of Newcastle fans' minds, that we want to be winning the league or challenging for the league in 5 years. The moment that the Premier League changed the sponsorship rules, that changed from a 5-year project to a 10-year project. In that instant. And in my mind, I was convinced on that. Didn't say it on these shows or anywhere else, but in my mind, it was like, right, this is now a 10-year project, not a 5-year project. And with all the changes and the cuts and the stopping and the changing of the rules to make it difficult for the likes of us and Aston Villa and other clubs as well that are throwing money at it, this is now turning into a 10 to 12-year project before we're legitimately alongside that top 6 and we're seen as someone that's a viable team that's able to fight for the title. That's my personal opinion on it. The only way that becomes less in terms of year span is if we put those Champions Leagues back to back because of the money that it generates. It's the only way we're going to do it. Now, it's been seen as overachieving, and I would agree with that. We're going to have to continue to overachieve in order to narrow the amount of years it's going to take for us to get there. That's my opinion. And I've been very much accepting of that very early on. I may not have said it on these shows, etc., but that's always been my mindset. Things changed very quickly in this takeover, and the situation means that we are going to be in a 10 to 12 year project before it gets to that point. The big question is PIF here for the fight? Are they here long term to see that through, that 10 or 12 year project through? They've said everything they've needed to say that they are. For me, though, and this is a positive, and Daz, I know we talked about it before we went live. We wanted to talk about the positives. This is the positive. The 30 million investment into the stadium and the training ground, a training ground that they're looking to leave in potentially 2 to 3 years' time. They've invested another shed load of money, millions of pounds in to improve it by 50%. And ownership doesn't do that unless they are committed to the cause. So for me, there is no question that PIF are committed to Newcastle United. There is no question, because you don't throw that amount of money into a club, into those types of facilities that you're not going to keep long term if they're not committed. They just don't do it. It just doesn't make financial sense to do it, if I'm being honest with you. But they are doing it. So that fills me with confidence that they're here to see things through. The next thing we need to hear this summer, and it has to be soon, I'm hoping it's next week, if I'm being honest with you, but I'm hoping we see it at some point this summer, is that there's confirmation and there's images and there's visuals of a brand new £200 million training ground. That will show you that we're serious. Then it's about, okay, what are you doing with this stadium? We've had some positive news on that, but we need to hear it from the club directly and officially that this is what's happening with the club. Forget the speculation. We need confirmation. And they need to do that quickly. They're the two things that I need to see. The money in transfers, Newcastle United and the ownership have thrown whatever they can at the club, pretty much. And they would continue to invest. We spent nearly 250 million last summer. I imagine we'll spend a significant amount, maybe not that much, but a significant amount again in the window. So I'm not worried about how much we invest in terms of players. But they have shown me in these moments, particularly this week, that they are committed to Newcastle United. So for me, there's no question there. But the project is very much long-winded and very much a spiral of 10 or 12 years for me. That's the way I see it.
I just want to come in on one other point, Pete, and it's another thing that where the goalposts changed. Yes, you mentioned Amanda and then the Premier League rules and then the 5-year project going to 10, 12 years. But another thing that we were in control of, our owners were in control of, is that and none of us saw it coming. I thought that Newcastle was going to be like all over Saudi, that's their Premier League team. It doesn't seem like that's happened to me. But what they did was PF bought a number of clubs or invested in a number of clubs in the Saudi League and kicked that off, and their focus was making that their centerpiece of or a major project, well, bringing in, because there's not as much restrictions there. They could bring in world stars, maybe coming to some of them coming towards the end of their careers, then targeting other players who were younger and maybe going for the quick buck, going to the Saudi League. But that wasn't in play as well when our takeover happened, and it's just another thing that happened along the way that changed the goalposts of what the focus was, I guess, for our owners, rather than just focusing on Newcastle and maybe going down the route of a multi-club model like Man City have done. That hasn't happened either. It's kind of, but I'm not questioning what we've seen in the last, or heard about in the last week or so, about the investment and the training ground and buying of the land next to the stadium that gives us options which direction we're going to go. That's showing that they want to be around for a while at least. But it's been a bit frustrating on that point. But again, it goes back to the question there of the level of what we want next.
Just to add to that, I don't feel. For me, a lot of people have said, "Oh, the Saudi League's taking the focus away from Newcastle United." I don't think it has. I think they brought the Saudi League in because they were wanting the World Cup. That's why they brought the Saudi. That's why they put so much money into the Saudi League, because they wanted to make it viable that the World Cup could be held in Saudi Arabia. The football in Saudi Arabia was like nobody even knew it even existed, let's be honest, until they started pumping this money into the Saudi Pro League. They wanted to make it viable that when the World Cup's there, that there's a genuine reason for it, and they've got all these star-studded players that are likely to be part of the World Cup that almost gives it that validity in that sense. That there's football in Saudi Arabia, like Ronaldo, for example, that it's massive, and they've got the best players that are playing there, or the top players that are playing there, and it almost makes it viable over that period of time. That's how I saw the Saudi League when it came in. I also believe there was an element of benefit that they wanted for Newcastle in terms of ultimately what other clubs have done, in terms of they could cherry pick players from Newcastle and spend a lot of money on them. But remember, what has happened is UEFA changed the rules. UEFA made the rules in play that we couldn't benefit. Literally every club, bar Newcastle, can benefit from signing players to the Saudi League. So, and I don't think Newcastle PIF anticipated that. I genuinely don't. And I think they went into it thinking that Newcastle could benefit, that certain players could move over to there or for significant fees, etc., and it could help Newcastle financially. But when they realised that UEFA changed the rules or put the rules in place that we couldn't benefit from it, in that financially we could get big money for them, but it wouldn't go towards PSR, etc., it made it kind of like non-profitable, really. It made it like a non-issue in terms of being able to make those signings. And that's why I think Newcastle have probably stepped away from it in taking players over to Saudi. I think that's been the big kicker. So I do think there's an element of they intended it to be for the right reasons, particularly outside of Newcastle for the World Cup, but for Newcastle as well. But I think circumstances, and again, the officials, whether it's the Premier League with the sponsorship or UEFA with the rule change, is like it's hampered Newcastle massively. It genuinely has.
Yeah.
And I don't think PIF or the club anticipated what these officials have done to stop Newcastle progressing in the way that which they could. They've stopped every way possible Newcastle United doing anything similar to what City and Chelsea have done. But for me, whether it's in 2 years' time, 4 years' time, 6 years' time, 8 years' time, that's what will make it more. It's just as sweet when we achieve it. Because when we achieve the cup, no one could argue anything about the Saudi regime, anything like that, because of the teams that we beat on the way to winning the Carabao Cup. But if we are lucky enough to win the Premier League in years to come. If we are lucky enough to win an FA Cup or whatever, nobody can question Newcastle United. They can question the ownership until they're blue in the face, but they can never question Newcastle United on how we did it, because we've had to jump through hoops for nearly 5 years now, and it will be 7 years, 10 years, 12 years. We've had to jump through hoops and go through every legal way to do it. There'll be no concerns. There's no back window. There's no kind of exchange behind the scenes. There's no anything that Man City have done, fake sponsorships, the lot, all these little things. We've done it by the book because we've had to. So that would make it even more successful, the fact that we've been able to do it that way. And there's no question marks from any journalist, any Premier League official, any UEFA official would have done it the right way. And they can't stick the finger in or kick the boot in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Pete, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in one more time. Sorry, Chris, I'm going to let you.
No, you're right.
But I think that's in our fan base. There's that kind of mismatch. I think still exists, because you said it there, Pete. If we win the Premier League, and we're thinking if we win the Premier League in our lifetime, lads, right? But when the takeover happened, it was like, when we win the Premier League. That was the kind of that's the way I felt when we win the Premier League. It wasn't a matter of if this is going to happen. We're going to be on a rocket here, and away we go. It'll take a bit of time, but we'll eventually get there. But now it's a question of if, and that's maybe some of our fans are still thinking when, and that's why they're going, Eddie isn't the man for this. We need to be getting there. We need to still on that rocket. But it's and back to the other point someone said about it's not linear. So we're not on that rocket ship like we thought we were at the beginning. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair, boys. I think it's fair what you've said. And yeah, maybe it is managing those expectations, but I do think as well, when the CEO comes out and starts talking about 2030 and being the best club in the world, or up there as one of the best clubs in the world, that's where fans then start going, well, hang on a minute, we finished 12th. So you could almost argue, couldn't you, that the ownership aren't helping themselves, is what I'd say at this moment, or the backroom staff, if you like, aren't necessarily helping themselves at the moment. Right, we've got a few more super chats, boys. Nick Thornton, just putting this out there, Nick. Nick says, Howe said he tracked Elanga for 2 years. I think we need to comment on that. That's hopefully he was lying when he said that, but if he isn't lying, then yeah, slightly concerning. Peter McCardle, thank you also for your super chat. Peter McCardle says, with Ross Wilson looking at younger players, Eddie won't play them. Look at Hall and how long it took before he got in the team. Is that a concern? Daz, we know Eddie likes his players Eddie Howe ready. I think that is the terminology, isn't it? Can he afford to do that this summer, Daz? Looking at next season.
Again, the last line. Look at Hall, because look at Hall, what he's doing now. But yeah, Ross Wilson needs to bring in players that are ready to go. They also need to bring in players for the future, and that's what they're doing. I think they're going a two-pronged approach here, maybe three-pronged approach, because we also need to offload a number of players, and we've players leaving anyway. So we just we've got no choice but to trust the process. I'm afraid this summer, and go from there. If we need to go a different direction, don't worry, we'll be saying the same thing.
Absolutely. And Pete, I'm going to add on another super chat to this question. Being a bit cruel here, I'm giving you two in one, but it is linked in a way. So Peter obviously talks about Ross Wilson, younger players. What's Eddie Howe going to do with them? But Stephen, also, thank you, Stephen, for your super chat. I think that's your third one, Stephen. Thank you. Stephen says, do you think PIF throw the kitchen sink at this summer, hoping Eddie gets it right? Or do they box clever just in case Eddie has to go and the new boss comes in?
I'll answer that first bit first.
Yeah.
With Stephen. Do they throw the kitchen sink in it? It depends on what you mean from that. Do they throw all of the money that's generated from sales into what we sign this summer? Probably. Yeah, I think they do. If we sell Anthony Gordon, for example, Willock for a decent fee, maybe one other, a Tino or a Tonali, do I think that they reinvest that back into the team? I absolutely do think they do that. But in terms of the previous super chat with regards to Ross Wilson and Eddie Howe putting him on the bench, yeah, he's had previous doing that, but that's where we need to see the evolution of Eddie Howe, because these players need to start. If we're going into a season and Nick Pope's starting in goal and our new goalkeeper's sitting on the bench, we know what the fan reaction is going to be to that. We know what our reaction is going to be to that. If you've got a right back or a centre back or a right winger, for example, or a left winger or a striker, whoever it is that comes in and they're sitting on the bench first game of the season and they're not playing for 3, 4, 5 games and they're waiting for one of the more experienced players, established players, to have a bad game to get their opportunity, then Eddie Howe's not showing me anything new. He's not showing me that he is ready to manage differently. He's not ready to evolve. And that will throw some concerns for me about the manager, major concerns. But this is it. It's what I said before. We are living on hope here. We're living on hope that things can change. I believe that Ross Wilson will get the signings in because I think he's good enough to get these deals done on the players that Steve Nixon, Eddie Howe, and Ross Wilson want. I believe that will be the case. But then, as I keep saying before, time and time again during this show, is that the rest of it is then on Eddie Howe. What has he got that's different to what he did last season? Has he evolved? Has he learned his lessons from the mistakes, the continual mistakes that he's made this season? That's the bit that I can't answer that. Daz, Chris can't answer that. Anyone in the chat, we can't answer that. Has he learned from his mistakes? We could argue that no, he probably won't because he hasn't before. Fine. But we need to see that in action. Yeah. We need to see that he's learned from his mistakes and he's able to manage his team and do things better. Start a different team. Start players, new signings, straight from the off. Give them the opportunity to shine. Until he does that, the question marks are there. Absolutely. So, and that's where I am with the situation. I'm not worried with the summer business. I'm worried about what the manager's going to do with the summer business, and that's what I can't predict that. I'm just hoping and praying that he makes the right decisions and we start like a house on fire. That's what I hope for. That's what I pray for, because I don't want to go through what we went through this season. I don't want another season of this, because I'm drained as it is right now, talking about how a shambles of a season. I don't want to be back there again.
I want to go to a comment from Foxy, and I'd like to know why Foxy thinks this, but just he says, I don't have too much faith in Ross, the fraud, Wilson. Hopefully he does something decent, anything. So because we're putting everything at his door here to fix this, to change this with the rebuild. So interesting why you think that, Foxy. Enlighten us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Tell us. And Dor, good friend of the channel, Dor. Dor's asking, can we swap Alanga for a Dan and Doy? Absolutely not, Dor. But by all means, if you want to come in and buy Anthony Alanga back, you are more than welcome, mate. More than welcome. Our door is open.
Even be a little discount, 5%.
Yeah. Why not? Lee Owens talks about Maxence Lacroix leaving Palace. That was a bit of an interesting one. I think that broke earlier today, maybe yesterday. But yeah, solid defender. But do I see us going in for him? Probably not. I think he'll go for a pretty penny. Where he goes, I don't know. But yeah, interesting that he's potentially moving on from Palace. That's for sure.
He'll probably be classed as a generational talent, no doubt.
Yeah, quite possible.
I got the tweet that came from Fabrice Hawkins, who reported on it. Set to play his final match at Selhurst Park against Arsenal. This came a bit left field, actually. There was no kind of prior warning that he was going to leave, which was a bit of a surprise when this came out. It was rumoured yesterday, but it broke today from Fabrice Hawkins. The fee is very interesting, though. 40 million euros, so 35 million pound for Maxis Lacroix. I think that's, if that's true, and someone can get him out of Palace for 35 million pounds, they've got one hell of a deal on. They've got one hell of a deal on because he's a top player. Let's not forget Fabrice Lacroix. Maxis Lacroix, Fabrice Hawkins, getting them mixed up. Maxis Lacroix was linked with Newcastle, and we scouted him before we got Sven Botman. So he is very much a historical link to Newcastle. I'm not saying he comes to us. I don't think he will. I think Newcastle will go down the safer route in giving Fabian Shaw a new contract, and I think he'll probably stay in a year. Whether that's the right decision or not, I'm not sure. We don't know. We only know what Fabian Shaw was doing before the injury. We don't know what he's like now, because to a 34-year-old that's been out for 4-5 months, that can significantly change a player that's playing regular football week in, week out, that's on the note every week. A player sometimes doesn't come back the same player. So as much as people don't think it's a risk and thinks it's a no-brainer, it might well not be, because players, particularly when you get to that age, they don't always come back the same player. You only have to look at Kieran Trippier. When he started getting his injuries, all of a sudden, it was taking him 3-4 weeks to get back into the speed of things.
Yeah.
Now you're asking a Fabian Shaw, who, if he does sign a new deal, and it's been well documented, Fabian Shaw's going to take a new deal, knowing that he's going to be back up to Malik Chow.
Yeah.
Now we don't know what a Fabian Shaw looks like in backup. We know what he looks like playing week in, week out. So are we going to still get the same Fabian Shaw that's going to come in week 2, week 6, week 8, week 12, just here and there, and not play regular football? Is he going to still be the Fabian Shaw that we know he's capable of being? Or do we need to get a proper right-sided centre-back that's younger, that's hungry, that's ready to go, that's actually going to push Malik Chow to be number one? The money might well be needed elsewhere, which is probably why it won't get done. But there's still question marks on Fabian Shaw. I love him as a player. He's been an outstanding signing for Newcastle. But at 34 and 5 months out, 6-7 months by the time preseason starts again, are we getting the same player? That's the big question.
Yeah. A few comments from people here. I'm just going to flash them up. Jimmy Watt says, Eddie isn't getting the sack this season, but do you think Eddie can turn it round, or will he get the sack? No hope in your answer, please. So I'm not going to say hope, Jimmy. I'm going to say we have to believe. We have to believe that Eddie can turn it round. And I think that's what the ownership will be doing. They will be believing that Eddie Howe can turn it round. But I get your point. I do get where you're coming from. And Jono, there's lots of questions of us here, boys. And obviously it's not directed at us, but it's just asking for our opinions. But Jono asks Pete, how can you move players on when you have a manager who hoards players? And I think what Pete was saying, Jono, and tell me I don't want to put words in your mouth, Pete, but I think what Pete was saying was that this is the job of Ross Wilson, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. This is it. Ross Wilson needs to go and say to Eddie Howe, this player needs to leave. Jacob Murphy needs to leave. Kept him a year too long. Joe Willock kept him 2 years too long. Needs to go. And it's that conversation that wouldn't have happened last season because we didn't have a sporting director.
No.
We didn't. And so he could make those decisions himself, knowing that no one's going to challenge him on that. And that's the important thing. So I'm hoping, like, if Eddie Howe has learned anything from this season, is that some of his decisions with players has been wrong. He's kept players far too long. I think if we'd have got European football, I think he'd have let Fabian Shaw go. And I think he would have gone in and got a brand new right centre-back. That's what I think the club would have done. And it kind of fits into a question, a comment here from Pontmags as well. He put Ross Wilson is an elite sporting director to people who think Eddie Howe is an elite manager. Now, nobody on this panel or anyone in the chat has said that Ross Wilson's an elite sporting director. But what we have is a sporting director that can close deals, because that's what a sporting director is. The players are identified by Steve Nixon, Eddie Howe, and Ross Wilson, and Ross Wilson has to go and close that deal. That's what his job is to get the deal done and signed and sealed and confirmed to move to Newcastle United. And do I believe he's capable of doing that? Absolutely. Does that make him elite? Absolutely not. But it means that we've got something that we didn't have last summer. With someone that can actually broker deals. Because as we've already heard from the fallout of last summer, had we had a sporting director that was actually committed to Newcastle United, we would have had James Trafford and we would have had João Pedro before Chelsea had even finished the Club World Cup. And we'd have been looking at this season very differently, in my opinion.
And we'd be in Europe. Not in Champions League, but we'd be definitely in Europe.
Quite possibly.
Only 4 points off it, was it, in the end?
So that's why a sporting director is crucial, because they close the deal. I will never forget that moment that we were shocked and stunned and we went live just like that when we heard that Dan Ashworth was in Milan closing the deal for Sandro Tonali. That's what a sporting director does. Yeah. He's not the guy that identifies the player and goes, he's the one we should be signing. He leaves that to Steve Nixon and Eddie Howe to have the discussion on. But a sporting director is the one that goes, okay, I think that we need to go for this guy. I'm going to go and close the deal and gets it done. And the reports around Lamine Kamara, the reports around Ewan Jawen, and a number of other players, this is where he'll be worth his salt. This is where he'll prove his worth. Not saying we're going to get those players, but you can already see he's working on stuff. Let's see what he does now the season's finished. If we can secure a couple of players before the World Cup, then he's doing what we weren't able to do last summer, is close deals and get deals done and get them signed and get them over to Newcastle. That's what he's been brought in for. And that's what I believe that he's going to do this summer. That's why I put my belief on it.
And says Claire G. Claire, lovely to see you in the chat. As Claire G reminds us, this is the same Ross Wilson who has our pants down with Anthony Elanga and, of course, was instrumental in the PSR swap deal for Anthony Elliot Anderson and Odyssey's Vlachodimos. He brokered that deal.
Yeah.
Foxy, I think this is a bit of sarcasm from Foxy. Ross Wilson's black and white army. That's what he put in response to what we were saying earlier. Lee Owen says Nixon and Wilson equals Brazilian wonder kid. I pray. Yeah, let's see.
Right. A new count, Chris. A new count. We had the countdown to the season end, and that finally finished today. 18 days until the World Cup. So, and we said we hope to have 2 players in before the World Cup. So the 11th of June World Cup. So in the next 18 days, will we have 2 out and 2 in?
Well, interestingly, I saw something the other day, boys, and tell me if this is wrong. I'm sure, was it Ben Jacobs who said that the transfer window opens on the 15th of June? Or did I make that up?
Deals can be done behind the scene.
I'm sure deals can be done, yeah, and we can sign them on that day. But I'm sure the transfer window opens on the 15th of June. I could be wrong. I could be drastically wrong.
Yeah,
but
it's normally about mid-June, but then players obviously don't start until pre-season. So, yeah, and it all depends. So, like, it opens 15th, yeah, or around there. Those deals that get signed off there are this side of the financial year, and then from July the 1st onwards, they're part of the next financial year into the season. And I just want to throw this up really quickly because Ponce Max thrown in a number of comments, which is absolutely fine, and this is all part of the conversation. The idea that Ross Wilson is some sort of swaggering football visionary, nobody said that. These words are being put into our mouths here because nobody said he's a football visionary who builds world-beating squads. Nobody said that at any point. But what I will agree with you on, Pont Mags, is that, yes, I am desperate. I'm desperate for it to be better than what we've been this season because this season cannot happen again. And Ponce Mags, I think you'd agree with me on that. is that we don't want to see this season again. So I have to put my faith in something. If I'm going to put my faith in a sporting director, not to get the players, but to close the deals and bring in the players into Newcastle, not to point them out. That's Steve Nixon's job. Not to point them out and go, these are the players that will fit Newcastle United. That's his job. But to go and close the deal to get the players in, I'm going to put out my hope and my faith in him. I've got to put it somewhere. My faith's not 100% with Eddie Howe, because I'm not convinced that he's going to be the guy to turn it around. We get to see that in mid to end of August when the season starts. I've got no hope in that's going to be the case, but I've got to put my hope in somewhere. And Newcastle fans have to put their hope in somewhere. It can't just be all doom and gloom. Yes, we've had a lot of negativity today because the result was crap and things have been negative. But look, next season's a new season. We can't just be constantly negative and toxic, because that's just not what we want to be. Newcastle fans should be able to put their hope in something. So putting our hope in Ross Wilson being able to sign off a deal, which he's been more than capable of doing and done some bloody good ones at Forest over the years, well, I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But nobody at any point has said anything about football visionary or building world-beating squads. That's you putting words out there, because nobody in this chat has even said it either. In the weeks that we've been doing and talking about this, nobody said that at all. So that might be what you're thinking, but certainly not us.
I would rather
maybe we should say
that.
just so we can be the first and play this clip this time next year at the end of the season. Yeah, that Ross Wilson, he could be a swaggering football visionary and build a world-class squad, so world-beating squad. So
I would rather have a Ross Wilson. I would rather have Ross Wilson as a sporting director than not have a sporting director and leave it to a manager to have to do all those things.
Yeah.
So last summer, Eddie Howe was the chief exec. Practically, Eddie Howe was the sporting director because we didn't have one. I'd rather have people in place to go and do those jobs.
And then put your faith in them to actually do their jobs.
Yeah.
Which is what we're saying.
Yeah. Babbo, lovely to see you in the chat, mate. Babbo says, so sad to sign off the season this way, but I want to thank you for keeping our sanity alive this season. Away the lads. Thank you. Cheers, Babbo.
Cheers, Babbo.
Top man. I think we're going to close off, boys, but I just want to do two more. Yeah, two more. Oh, no, three more. Quick one on this, boys. Well, actually, I'll just read this out. This is just a comment. Harple says, I don't know whether Eddie Howe said this or not, but apparently the sun was too hot in our eyes. We couldn't have done much more, unfortunately, Eddie Howe. I don't know if he said that. If he has said that, unbelievable, but maybe Harple's being sarcastic there. Who knows? I wouldn't rule it out, boys. Maybe. I wouldn't rule it out. But Jay asks us, quick one. Do we think Tonali is gone? Obviously, Tonali pulls out before the match kicks off. Is there any skepticism there, boys? People are talking about the Italy squad, saying, oh, is he going to be in the Italy squad? He's probably going to be in the Italy squad, isn't he? But
for the Euros.
I don't know whether... Yeah. No, is the Italy squad's been...
Yeah, there's international friendlies. There's
the friendlies, yeah.
I think it might be the Euro. No, it won't be the Euros, because they'll start them after the World Cup's finished.
Yeah.
Iran aren't getting kicked out of the World Cup again, are they?
No, but there are international friendlies, though, in the build-up to the World Cup. So I think there's two friendlies. I can't remember who Italy are playing against, but there's two friendlies that they're playing up against. And to be fair, it was again Lee Ryder. He put something out there right before the game started. So there was an announcement that Tonali got injured during the warm-up, and then Willock obviously changed places. Willock was then starting, Tonali was out. I'd love from someone Newcastle related that was in the away end, because they were warming up right near them. Did anyone see the injury? Did anyone see it happen? Because there's a couple of people that I know were at the game today and didn't see anything untoward in terms of an injury or a discomfort or anything regarding Tonali. So if anyone else saw it, let us know. But from that perspective, no doubt it'll be in the Italy squad. But won't that tell you everything you need to know if that happens again twice in the matter of 3 months?
I hope he's not
will ramp up. Yeah.
Hope he stays.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I suppose we can touch on this very briefly, but it's a question that we've spoken about before. I'm looking forward to pronouncing this one. Spiritual Salad Joanna. Spiritual Salad Joanna says, why is Gordon even being named on the bench? It's pointless. He really has lost the plot. Just some terrible decision making week in, week out. Time is up. Boys, like, again, were any of us surprised Gordon got calls named in the squad? And were any of us surprised that he didn't enter the field of play? Like, what are we doing here with that?
I'm going to go Spirituals a lad, John, eh? Why Gordon on the bench? It's the same as usual. It doesn't make any sense putting Gordon on the bench when he's no intention of playing him, and he's not going to risk the transfer. He can get an injury and then a transfer move falling through, and then we're stuck with an unhappy player as well. We had enough of that towards the in pre-season. Let's just get that Gordon deal done. That's the one that has to be done in the next 18 days. We need Gordon sorted. He doesn't want to be here. We don't want him. Let's move on.
Is it question, Pete? Is that any good for the squads who are intending to play and trying to win the game? To have an Anthony Gordon in and amongst it, who's really just not there, mentally, physically, literally physically, he's just not there. He's not coming on.
I think it's a really poor decision to put him in the squad, knowing that he has no intentions of playing him. I just don't. Is it related to transfers or England? I don't know. Is it that they're putting him in the squad and using the injury and getting back to fitness excuse just to justify anything to Bayern Munich in negotiations? I don't know. But for me, just on what we can see of it, I think it's really poor to put him in the squad. It's clear. I said to you boys, I said I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't in the squad at all. And I felt like it was the right decision to make, is just don't make him travel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because he's not playing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's anyhow, not punishing him, but just kind of letting him know sort of who's boss kind of thing. Maybe it's that. I'm guessing here. I'm guessing.
Three games on the bench.
I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers to that. No. But for me, on the basis of it, I think it's a really poor decision to have him in the squad if you've got no intentions of playing him. Because what that means is you've got a player that is committed to Newcastle United that's potentially missing out. And obviously we had the injury to Tonali, so we had John Ruddy on the bench. But who's to say we could have had one of the young lads from the under-21s that could have come and been on the bench and used that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I look at it and I think it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless having him on the bench. Like, look, he's going to go. We'll get as much money as we get for him. Good luck to him. But it's not what we need right now. We need to move him on. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, I thought it was a really poor decision.
Yeah.
Personally.
Michael Parsons says, guys, I fear relegation next season if Eddie continues at Newcastle. It's quite a bold statement, Michael, but yeah, maybe you.
Michael, don't go there.
Spurs. I don't know. Yeah, maybe he's looking at what's happening to Spurs. I don't know.
No, it can't be. It can't be as bad as this season. We can't be anywhere near 12 come this time next year.
No. And Pete, I'm gonna leave this one with you. Daz, not our Daz, a different Daz, asks you, what did you think of Jamie Rubin's ex-post? Got a lot of comments from fans.
Yeah, I put it on before the show started. And this is it. Says, thank you to the travelling support today. Clearly a very disappointing result at the end of an underwhelming season, despite some great moments in the Champions League and other domestic cups. We have not lived up to where we should and need to be. All of us, from ownership down to coaching staff and players, will work tirelessly over the summer to advance our project, come back stronger and start the new season in the best way possible. To all Newcastle, or to all our supporters, staff, everyone associated with Newcastle, thank you for your support. So lots of people having sort of their opinion with regards to that comment. For me, personally, it's good that he's come out and spoken about things, but I think he's maybe a few weeks too late, if I'm being honest. He could have come out and maybe spoken before about the drop in form, the lack of quality in this season. But he's saying that they're going to put it right, and we have to trust that they're going to do that. So it's a case of wait and see. It's all right. You're saying these things. We've said it with David Hopkinson before. You've made these comments before. You've said these things. Now go and show it. Go and prove it. Go and back it up by actually doing the business. Go and put your money where your mouth is. You're saying it's an underwhelming season, that it's not good enough and it's not where we need to be. Well, go and put your money where your mouth is. Go get the players in that we need and ensure that we are where we need to be. And if we're not where we need to be, make the decision to make changes. That's what Jamie Rubin and PIF need to do. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I want to tell people where they need to be the next 2 evenings at 6:30, if that's okay with you boys. Because you need to be here and loaded, because we've got 2 shows, 2 fully loaded transfer shows coming up. We've got Graham Bailey there peering out behind the tree on tomorrow at 6:30. And we have Antonio Mango back for part 2. We didn't get through all our link, suggestions with Antonio, especially in the striking department. So Antonio joins us again on Tuesday. So that is a little starter for you. I'm sure you've been watching the fully loaded transfer shows already there this season. But there's more to come right through the summer.
Yeah,
from Loaded.
Brilliant. Now the season's out the way, we focus on the future.
Exactly. That's it. We'll bring it to a close, boys. We'll bring the season to a close as well. Thanks to everyone that has stuck with us right through the season. It's not been pretty at times, even though we have us to look at. It's not been pretty. We will see you tomorrow, 6:30. Graham Bailey. Get your questions in the chat.
Yeah. We'll take the MVPs, the Loaded Mag MVPs of this season. We'll take that.
Cheers, Foxy.
All of you guys are the MVPs, by the way. Everyone in the chat, because you guys are coming along. You've been along with us for that ride. It's not been easy for us, but you guys have been there all the way through. I could go through all the names, but Foxy and the rest, you've all been there through good times and bad this season, mostly bad, and you've been on the journey with us. So you guys are definitely the MVPs. That's for sure.
Yeah. And big shout out to James Saunders, just spotted that in the chat. James says, lads, you really helped me at the moment. My dad has terminal cancer, so your shows help me so much. Sorry to hear that, James, but I'm glad to hear that you're coming on and taking yourself away for a couple of hours and just, talking football and things is helping me. But obviously our best wishes go to you and your dad, mate.
100%.
Cheers, James. Know exactly what you're talking about. Being there. Right, boys, we'll say goodnight. See you on the next one. Good night.
Mama always told me, Papa always warned me, don't hang around with boys like you. Teacher always told me never to be naughty, don't mess around with boys like you.